In 1911, the United States government did something that took 2 decades to accomplish. They broke up the largest company in history. Standard Oil was split into 34 separate pieces, 34 independent companies, each forbidden from merging back together. The public celebrated. And the owner, the man who built that empire, his net worth tripled. The attempt to destroy his monopoly created the first billionaire in human history. How does breaking something make it more valuable? That question sounds absurd, but the answer explains far more than one man's story. It explains something about the world you live in. Right now, John David Rockefeller was born in 1839 on a farm in upstate New York. His father's name was William, but no one called him that. The nickname behind his back was Devil Bill. Devil Bill traveled the countryside selling fake cancer cures to desperate people. He used a false name, Dr. William Levston. He charged $25 a session. In today's money, that's over $800 for medicine that did absolutely nothing. He had a second family his wife didn't know about. He disappeared for months, came back with money and gifts, then vanished again. But that's not what shaped the son. What shaped him was something specific that Devil Bill did on purpose. You think a man's word means something? It means whatever he decides, it means that day. I cheat my boys every chance I get. Not because I enjoy it, because the world will cheat them, whether I do or not. Better they learn it from someone who loves them. Don't be afraid, son. I'll catch you. But it's so high, father. Trust me, jump. I'm coming down. He would make deals with his sons, real deals with real stakes, and then break them on purpose to teach them that trust is weakness. And on the other side of the house, there was the mother, Eliza, devout Baptist, rigid, disciplined to the bone. Lord, I have not wasted this day. I have not wasted these children. I have an idle hand is the devil's works, and I will not give him a single hour. One parent who embodied chaos and betrayal, another who embodied rigid order and divine accountability, and the boy in the middle absorbed both. At 6 years old, he found wild turkey eggs in the woods, hatched them, raised the birds, and sold them at a profit. At 14, he was lending money to neighbors at 7% interest, tracking every penny in a personal ledger. That notebook still exists today. After 6 weeks and over 30 rejections, he landed his first job as a bookkeeper. For the rest of his life, he didn't celebrate his birthday. He celebrated that day. He called it Job Day. When you grow up in an environment where the only constant is uncertainty, you do one of 2 things. You accept the chaos, or you dedicate your entire life to eliminating it. Rockefeller chose the second. The American oil industry in 1860 was not an industry. It was a casino. Men drilled wells and sometimes struck oil. Sometimes the well exploded. Prices swung from $10 a barrel to $10 in a matter of weeks. Fortune and bankruptcy were separated by the weather. Rockefeller looked at all of that and made a decision that would reshape the American economy for the next century and a half. He refused to drill. He didn't want the gamble. He wanted the system that processed the gamble. So he went into refining, the boring part, the part where you take crude oil and turn it into kerosene, the fuel that let people light their homes at night. Refining wasn't exciting, but it was controllable. And for a man raised by Devil Bill, controllable was everything. Within a few years, Rockefeller didn't just own a refinery. He owned the barrels, the warehouses, the delivery wagons. He started buying forests to make his own barrel wood, built his own cooperatives. He even calculated that the industry standard of 40 drops of solder to seal a kerosene tin was 1 drop too many. 39 worked just as well. That single drop, eliminated across millions of cans, saved the company a fortune. And if you sat across the table from Rockefeller during a negotiation, you wouldn't see intensity. You wouldn't see aggression. His biographer described it this way: scared to his bones, but with a calm exterior. He had learned from Devil Bill that the person who shows emotion first is the person, laughter, who loses. So, he never showed it. Not once. Numbers eliminate uncertainty, and uncertainty was what he refused to tolerate. But controlling his own costs wasn't enough because there was one variable outside his reach: the railroads. Every refiner in Cleveland depended on the railroads to ship their product east. Whoever controlled the transport controlled the price. Rockefeller didn't negotiate a discount. He did something different. Through a scheme called the South Improvement Company, he struck a secret deal with the railroads. They would charge his competitors full price and then pay Rockefeller a portion of that money as a rebate. The math became a weapon. Every barrel a competitor shipped made Rockefeller richer. With his costs lower and his rivals artificially higher, the outcome was inevitable. He approached Cleveland's 26 independent refineries. The offer was simple: sell me your business and receive Standard Oil stock, or keep operating. And watch the numbers destroy you. Records show that some owners accepted voluntarily and grew wealthy from the stock, but they did so under the imminent threat of logistical strangulation. It wasn't exactly a free choice. In 3 months, 25 of the 26 refineries were his. History calls it the Cleveland Massacre. By 1880, Standard Oil controlled over 90% of American oil refining. The price of kerosene had dropped from 58 cents to 8 cents a gallon. Consumers were paying less than ever. The product was standardized and reliable, and one man controlled nearly all of it. Vertical integration, horizontal consolidation, logistical control, everything optimized, everything calculable except one thing. Ida Tarbell, Tarbell's father, had been an independent oil producer in Pennsylvania, one of the men financially destroyed by Rockefeller's rebate schemes. She watched her father go from a man who owned his own business to a man who couldn't look his family in the eye. She was a teenager when it happened. She never forgot it. Decades later, she made a decision that for a woman in 1900 required a specific kind of stubbornness. She would investigate the most powerful man in the United States alone. No legal team, no institutional backing, no guarantee that anyone would publish what she found. Just a notebook and 5 years of patience. Rockefeller had spent his entire life building systems that left nothing to chance. Ida Tarbell was the one variable he never calculated. Not because she was powerful, because she was patient, and she understood something he didn't. That numbers control markets, but stories control people. In 1904, she published The History of the Standard Oil Company, 2 volumes meticulously documented, every accusation sourced, every deal traced. Rockefeller never responded publicly. In private, he called her Miss Tarbell, a pun-on, but it didn't matter what he called her. She had found the one thing his system couldn't control. What ordinary people believed her work didn't just shift the conversation, it created the conversation. It gave the federal government the public mandate to act, and it gave millions of Americans who had been paying less for kerosene and assumed the system was working fine a reason to question what that low price actually cost. In 1911, the Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly and ordered it broken into 34 separate companies. And this is where we come back to the question from the beginning. How does breaking something make it more valuable? Think of it this way. Imagine you own a building and all the furniture inside it. From the outside, nobody can see what's in there. They just see the building, so they price what they can measure, the walls. Now, someone forces you to move every piece of furniture onto the street. Suddenly, the market can see exactly what you have, and it turns out the furniture was worth more than the building. That's what happened to Standard Oil. Rockefeller still owned roughly a quarter of each of the 34 companies, and the stock market did something nobody predicted. It valued 34 separate transparent companies at FAR, more than the single opaque trust had ever been worth. The shares surged. His net worth didn't shrink, it tripled. But there's a second layer to this. The breakup happened in 1911. The Ford Model T had just gone into mass production. The world was about to need gasoline in quantities nobody had imagined. The forced transparency revealed the true value of his infrastructure at the exact moment. The biggest technological shift of the century arrived. The government broke the company at precisely the wrong moment to hurt him, and the right moment to make him richer than he'd ever been. And the logic behind it didn't die. Those 34 companies started merging back together. Exxon absorbed Mobil. Chevron absorbed Gulf and Texaco. The logic of consolidation that the government tried to destroy quietly reassembled itself over 100 years. They broke the company, but they didn't break the logic that made it exist. The pattern Rockefeller perfected didn't stay buried in 20th century oil. It became the source code of the modern economy. Vertical integration, Rockefeller's first weapon. Google controls 92% of the global search market. Standard Oil, at its absolute peak, controlled 91%. The tools changed, the names changed, but the pattern. Control the chain, absorb the competition, make resistance economically irrational. That pattern is still operating. And there's a part of this story that almost everyone gets wrong.